The conflict of Adam and Eve, or the Book of Adam and Eve, as you can also call it, was probably written by a Christian Egyptian in the 6th-ish century, definitely before the 9th century. We don't actually know who they were, because the manuscript that we are reading from, it was actually translated from, was Ge'ez, which was a South Semitic language. However, the stories in the Book of Adam and Eve do have parallels in the Cave of Treasures, another story that is, I believe that one was originally written in like Syriac. Some of the stories do have parallels in the Talmud and the Quran. We all know Adam and Eve from the Bible. Yes, Christianity is pretty big these days, so we all are familiar with at least the concept, yes? The original Arabic version that was probably written by someone we don't know in Egypt first has not been found. So the version that I have is translated from that Ge'ez manuscript, and I'm probably saying that wrong because I don't speak it. It's not really a language that a lot of people speak nowadays. It's pretty much just a liturgical language at this point. A liturgical language is a language that's largely just used in religious ceremonies and stuff, like Latin is today for the Catholic Church. Adam and Eve cannot be, well, we are not saying anyone is wrong or right here. We are just appreciating the stories. Some believe it to be literally true. Some believe it to be figuratively true. However, the Book of Adam and Eve is actually considered among the pseudepigrapha. The pseudepigrapha are apocryphal books. The apocrypha are the books that did not get into the Bible. So like when they were deciding which books to put in the Bible, because there are a lot of books that talk about the Abrahamic religions, so I don't know. Anyway, my point is, I forgot what my point is. The point is this reading a story. This particular book of text. Actually, this one is not held canon by any church that I know of. The Book of Adam and Eve details what happened after they left the garden, and a little bit before, but I'm getting ahead of myself. Quick overview of Adam and Eve. They're chilling in the Garden of Eden. God put them there. They have dominion over all the beasts, and God gave them one rule, one job. God is like, okay, you can eat all the fruit anywhere in the garden except this one tree right here, the tree of knowledge of good and evil and stuff. I've heard a few different names. Do not eat this fruit. Everything else is fair game, not this fruit. As the story goes, Lucifer, Satan, the adversary, the devil, he's against God. Takes the form of a snake. He's like sitting in the tree. He's like, hey, Eve, come here. And she's like, yeah? I guess snakes just like talked. The snake is like, hey, eat the fruit. And Eve is like, God said not to eat the fruit. He gave us like one rule, and that's the only rule he gave us is don't eat the fruit. He legit said that in the day that we eat this fruit, we will die. I don't know what death is, but it sounds pretty bad. So I don't think I should do that. And the snake is like, no. You won't die. You legit will not. Trust me, bro. Just try it. Eve eats the fruit, and suddenly her eyes are opened, and she's like, I am naked. I am not wearing any clothes. This is just now a problem that I realized. Up until now, I did not know that, like, I was supposed to be wearing clothes, but I am not wearing clothes. She goes to Adam and she's like, Adam, I ate this fruit and now I'm naked. And Adam's like, huh? Is that the fruit from the tree of good and evil? Eve is like, yeah, the snake said I could eat it and I'm not dead yet, but I'm naked. What do I do about this? And Adam's like, why did you eat the fruit? And he was like, the snake told me to. The snake is no longer there. Adam then has a choice. He can not eat the fruit and stay in the Garden of Eden, or he can eat it because now Eve's getting kicked out. According to that telling, he loves Eve so much that he is like, well, I'm eating the fruit too. If you're going somewhere, I'm coming with you. And so he eats the fruit too. Or in other tellings, she's just like, eat this fruit, it's good. And Adam's like, okay. They get kicked out. And this is where the Book of Adam and Eve picks up. They're getting kicked out of the garden, which is kind of where the Bible leaves off. He directs them away from this sea of water that encompasses the whole world, even like it reaches to the borders of heaven. And when a man washes himself in this sea, or presumably a woman, that is part of the text. They just seem to like not mention, like everything's about Adam. And even though it's going to affect both of them, they don't actually mention Eve like 80% of the time. I'm not saying that this makes it an evil, bad book and sexist and bad. Just, it was an interesting thing to me as I was reading it. Apparently, the water of this sea, when a man washes himself in this sea, he becomes clean of the cleanness thereof and white of its whiteness, even if he were dark. End quote. That's actually what it says. I don't know what clean of the cleanness thereof means. I guess spick and span. Shine like the top of the Chrysler building.
If this floor don't shine like the top of the Chrysler building.
The sea of water is clean and pure to the taste. It's so clear that you can see through it all the way to the bottom. You can see all the way through to the center of the earth, because, you know, this was written in the 6th century. They didn't have a great knowledge of all that stuff. You can see straight through to the bottom of this very clean sea. And God knows that if he lets Adam and Eve go near this sea, they might wash themselves in it and their sins will be erased. They will forget their sins and there won't be being punished anymore. They are being punished for transgressing and eating the fruit when he gave them one job. He said, do not eat this fruit. And they ate the fruit anyway. So he doesn't want them to go to this sea, and he doesn't want them to end up on the south side of the garden, because when the wind blows, it will blow the scent of the trees from the Garden of Eden to the south, and they will smell the scent of the trees, and it will make them feel better. Just the scent of the trees is comforting, and it will make them feel better, and they are being punished. And God's pretty mad at them right now. There's no one else on the earth. It's just them and God and Satan and Satan's demons and some angels. The cherub is there. The cherub with the flaming sword, he's doing stuff. And the stuff that he is doing is guarding the Garden of Eden. Adam and Eve aren't thinking about where they're gonna go. They just know they're being kicked out of the only home they've ever known. We don't know how old they are at this point. We don't know. There really haven't even been any days. Anyway, so he sends our father Adam and presumably Eve, who is not mentioned in that verse. It just says our father Adam. Like I said, they just kind of use Adam to refer to both of them, to the western border of the garden, and tells them to live in a cave. The Cave of Treasures, and it's under the Garden of Eden, which I just think is really cool. I think it's cool that we have a map. He shows them this cave, and he's like, this is your new house, live in this cave. The cavemen, yes, they're cavemen! I just realized that. Adam and Eve right now are walking out of the garden. They're literally on the shame walk, past the tree that they were not supposed to eat from and ate from anyway, and to the gate of the Garden of Eden. And they're not very happy about this. They have no other experience with which to judge this. Everything they have ever known has been torn away from them as a punishment for breaking the only rule they were ever given. You know when you're a kid and you do something bad and you get punished, and when you're so young and frankly so powerless when you're a child, it feels horrible. The shame is crushing. So Adam and Eve, even though physically they're adults, presumably, they don't know anything. They don't even have the experience that a lot of children would have, because they're the only two people in the world. They've talked to God and the angels and stuff, but they have no other experience. There is no society. There are no other people for them to judge their actions off of. All they know is the Garden of Eden, and now they are being cast out. They're freaking out. This is... Just looking, they didn't have Google Maps. They only had Waze. So they're walking out of the garden and they pass by the tree of knowledge of good and evil, all withered. Before it was beautiful. Everything in the garden, I'm sure, was beautiful, but this tree isn't anymore. It's withered. They'd never seen a withered plant before. It's gray, it's dead, it's crumbling. If you'd never seen a dead plant before, and all you'd ever seen was vibrant and green, would seeing something decaying and gray not be horrifying? They see the tree all withered and literally pass out from fear. They've never seen a plant be dying before. They pass out right there. And then, when they get to the gate of the Garden of Eden, after collapsing with terror, they look outside the gate as they're kind of standing on the precipice, and they see some rocks, and they've never seen rocks before. So they pass out with terror again. By now, God is like, okay, you guys. And he sends the word, which seems to be a metaphor for Jesus, possibly, at least the way that I was taught about Jesus. But in this, it is simply called the Word of God. It is referenced frequently as a separate being from God, but also it does what God tells it to and carries out actions for God that God would probably be doing. I don't know what it is. Probably Jesus, kind of. They see the rocks, they don't know what rocks are, they see the rocks, they see the sand, and they're like, and just pass out with fear. And they were as dead. They practically are scared to death, literally, of the rocks in the sand. Again, they've never seen this stuff before. Imagine you committed a crime. Maybe it was a lapse in judgment, but you commit a crime and the president or the prime minister, whoever's in charge of your country or whatever, shows up and is like, I am exiling you to another planet for your crimes. You're just gonna have to live on another planet. Good luck. Hope you don't die. This is, in a sense, spiritual death. When God said, don't eat this fruit, you will die that day, some believe it to mean spiritual death and separation from God. Separation from that bright nature, innocence, and communion with the divine that they had in the Garden of Eden, and now they're being cut off from that presence. Kolob? No, Kolob is real. Well, I mean, astronomically, I don't know, but Mormons do believe that Kolob is the star or the planet, depends who you ask, but is the star either near the planet where God lives or it is the planet where God lives. That's Kolob. And there's a song about it. And it has the King's Fold tune, which is one of my favorite folk tunes, honestly. If you could hide to Kolob in the twinkling of an eye. They never sing it in church, probably because they don't really talk about Kolob anymore, and I think that's lame because it's a great song. Kolob. Kolob. K as in Catherine, O as in octopus, L as in lugubrious, O as in octopus, B as in bonkers. Now you're getting all Tower of Babel, Sebastian. You're gonna get our languages confounded. Shh. Anyway, so they've collapsed in terror, and God sends his word to get them off the ground and comfort them and be like, guys, go. And they leave. They step out of the Garden of Eden into this sandy, rocky, terrifying, and utterly unfamiliar wasteland.